Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Curtis, and today I'm going to review the movie Straw on Netflix, which stars Taraji P. Henson, Sherry Shepherd, and Tiana Taylor. The movie begins with the camera panning around an apartment where we see dishes everywhere, a prescription bottle, and an eviction notice. The camera then pans to Janiah, who is laying next to her daughter Aria. The scene then flashes to Janiah holding her daughter at the hospital before going back to them in the bed. The alarm then goes off and she wakes Aria up so that she can take a bath and get ready for school. While in the tub, Aria is playing with an object that resembles a bomb on the edge of the tub. She tells her mom that it's her science fair project and that she was finally able to get it to work. It is at this point that Janiah moves the project from the edge of the tub to prevent it from getting wet and also, of course, from falling into the tub. Aria tells her that she can actually bathe herself, but her mom reminds her that she hurt herself the last time, so she's going to do it. And it's at this point that Aria tells her that her teacher made fun of her in front of the class because she did not have enough money for lunch, and this pisses her off. After this, they leave the apartment and start walking towards a car when they notice a homeless man. Janiah tells Aria to get in the car, and then she gives the homeless man some money. The landlord notices that she gave the homeless man money, and she calls her out in front of everyone. And she basically says, "How can you give this homeless man money but not give me money for the rent?" She also lets it be known to everyone out there that she has already filed an eviction and that Janiah needs to have the money soon. Janiah tells her not to worry about it. She actually gets paid that day and she will bring it on her lunch break. And she tells her that she better, otherwise her things will be outside later that day. Janiah gets in the car and drives her daughter to school. While Aria is walking into the building, a woman appears and she's looking at Janiah quite strangely, and she nervously waves back, and I was confused by that part. I was like, what's going on here? Janiah drives to work and we see that she works at the grocery store, and when she goes inside, the line is basically wrapped around the building. She goes to the back and she finds out that one of the employees called out. Her manager, Richard, comes in and tells her that she needs to hurry up and she needs to get out there because it is the first of the month. So, of course, you know it is busy. She goes out there, she's opened up her line, and she begins helping a woman and a man. But then she stops because she realizes that they are trying to purchase a lot of items on a WIC card. And she tells them that, unfortunately, they can't use the WIC card for all of the purchases. The lady says that she has done it plenty of times, but she's like, unfortunately, you can't do that. And she tries to get her to pay the remaining balance with cash. The lady then decides that she wants to go off on her, and then she says that she's leaving. And the guy that she's with, he decides to leave with her, but then he picks up a bottle and he throws it at Janiah's feet. That was completely unnecessary and uncalled for. And then Richard comes out, and instead of him being upset at the man throwing the glass at her, her feet, he gets upset at her and tells her that she needs to hurry up and clean it up to prevent a potential slip and fall claim. And at this point, of course, she has to close her line, and this causes a backup because now everybody has to go to the other line. In the back, she starts speaking to one of her coworkers who offers to give her some money for her daughter's medicine. She tells her that she appreciates it, but she has to respectfully decline because she is getting paid that day. She also reveals in this conversation that she plans to go back to nursing school. She ends up getting a call from the school, and they are requesting money for her daughter's lunch. And it's at this point that Richard comes back and tells her that she needs to hurry up and get back. But she's like, unfortunately, I cannot have to get back to the school. She's like, can you please let me go? Can you please let me go? And he's giving her a hard time at first, but eventually, like, you know what, you can go. But you need to be back in 30 minutes. And he puts a lot of emphasis on the fact that she needs to be back in 30 minutes. And at this time, she does ask him, is it possible to get her check early? Because, of course, the eviction has been filed and she's concerned about her stuff being put out. And she's like, can I get my check early? And he's like, no. And basically, like, you need to hurry up and go. And so she goes out and she leaves. She rushes out and she runs to her car. But as she's going to her car, she notices that there is a bank across the street. She goes inside the bank and she tells the manager, Nicole, that she tried to take $40 out of the ATM. But she keeps getting a message saying that she has insufficient funds, which doesn't make sense because she actually has $47 in the bank. And Nicole tells her that, that normally happens once the funds go below a certain balance, but it's okay because the teller will be able to assist her. She says, she doesn't have time. She wants the manager to help her, which is Nicole, but she's like, no, unfortunately, I can't help you. Just stand in line and the teller will help you in a few moments. In the next scene, we see Janiah running through the school hallways trying to find the principal. And it's at this time that we see that lady from before. So remember the lady I said was looking at her strangely and like she was crazy? We actually see her and we find out that her name is Miss Wilkerson. And then next thing you know, we hear Arya, she's screaming, Mama, Mama. And we see that there are two adults that are holding her back, which I felt like was unnecessary. She's a small child, but okay. And then another woman comes up and she tells her that she is from Child Protective Services and that she is there to take Arya away because the teachers have told them that Arya, not only does she come to school hungry, but she comes to school dirty. That was a bit much. And then Janiah pretty much explains, she feeds her based on what the doctors tell her to feed her. And she also says that, her gas gets turned off from time to time. So unfortunately, she doesn't have hot water all the time. And so sometimes she does bathe her in cold water. So that may explain, why they feel like she was dirty. And it's also at this time that she explains that her daughter has seizures and that her daughter needs her medicine. And then the lady from Child Protective Services tells her that they will need to schedule a home visit, but unfortunately at this time they will need to take her away, and then she leaves. Janiah leaves the building. She gets in her car and she tries to drive back to work, but unfortunately she's caught up in traffic. She attempts to switch lanes and speed past everybody, but she's cut off and she almost causes an accident. And the person that she almost hit, he's super mad. He's super irate. He rolls down his window, he takes his drink, and he throws it at her car window. And so she just tries to drive away. But like I said, he is really upset. He is really irate. And so he decides to follow behind her. And then he actually hits her car, and it causes her to spin out of control. After the car finished spinning, she gets out of the car and she opens the hood. I guess she's trying to get the car to restart. And then it's at this point that the cop pulls up and she's like, "Oh my God, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you're here because somebody just hit my car. I don't, I have your license plate. I can give you all the information." And then next thing we know, the guy who was in the car who threw the drink and who hit her car, he actually walks up and we find out that he is a cop as well. And he begins going off on her and actually threatens her. He tells her that he's going to find a legal way to blow her head off, all because she almost hit the car. He says that she hit the car, but I don't believe that she actually hit the car. And the other officer is like, "You need to leave. You're doing too much. You're a little upset." And so he ends up walking off and leaving. And then the officer that told him to leave says that she needs to see Janiah's license and registration. She pulls out the information. We find out that the license and registration, that they are both expired. And so the officer tells her that, she has to give her a ticket and also she has to impound her car. She goes back to work and attempts to open her line, but Richard stops her and tells her to go to the back. And it's at this time that we find out that instead of her only being gone for 30 minutes, she was actually gone for 2 hours. He tells her that unfortunately he has to let her go. She asks him for her check, and he tells her that he can't give her the check because based on company policy, if a person gets terminated, they actually have to mail the check, and that can take up to 3 days. She tries to explain her situation, but he doesn't care. He doesn't care at all. And he's like, "I'm not giving you the check. It's based off company policy, and it will be there in the mail." And then he tells her that she needs to get the F out. And I was just like, well, damn, brother. She goes back to the apartment complex, and this is where we see that the landlord actually did put her stuff out. And the landlord, she's very delighted. She's very proud of what she did. After this, Janiah goes back to the grocery store, and she walks back to Richard's office, and she asks him again for a check. Richard tells her that she cannot get her check right now, that it has to go through the mail based on company policy. And while they are talking and having a conversation, this man, he walks by and he looks at her and he looks at her name tag and sees that her name is Janiah. And so he says, "Janiah, right?" And he says, "Do you also black and mouths?" Richard notices him and says that, he's not allowed to be back there. And then the guy just pulls a gun out and we see that he actually has backup. The guy then demands money, and Richard, of course, he's like, "No problem. It's not an issue at all." He grabs the money that he had on his desk, and also he grabs some money from the safe, and he tries to give it to the man. But then Janiah kind of gets in the way because she needs money from her check because she needs to pay her rent, and also she needs to pay for her daughter's lunch. And so they actually get into like a little tussle over the money, and Janiah is actually quite strong because she was actually able to handle him a little bit. And I'm not sure if he actually hit her with the gun or he tried to hit her with the gun. But either way it goes, Janiah was able to push him off. She was able to grab the gun, and she actually ended up shooting him. The man falls to the ground, and the other guy that was with him, the backup, actually runs away. And at this point, Richard is upset, and he actually starts to blame her because he believes that she set everything up. because of the convenience. You know, she came back after she was fired, and then this guy just randomly came in, said her name, asked for some black amounts, then he tried to basically take the money from him. And so he believes that she set everything up. And so he actually picks up the phone, calls the police, and tries to explain everything that's going on. But then Janiah, she turns around and she actually shoots Richard and kills him. And I was like, wow, okay. And then she starts looking around the desk trying to see if she can find her check. And mind you, there is cash on the desk because he went into the safe to try to get the cash so, you know, the people who had the guns could get the money. So she completely avoids the cash on the desk, which was weird to me. She finds her check, but the problem is her check actually has blood on it. And so we got to try to figure out how she can cash this check, even though it has blood on it. She goes back to the bank, and the guard tells her that the bank is actually closed. Nicole, the manager, notices that, you know, it's her outside, and she tells the guard that it's okay to let her in. Janiah walks in, and she walks up to the teller, and she tells her that she needs to cash her check. The woman then notices that there is blood on the check, but she assumes that it's from a child playing. It may have spilled something. And then she asks Janiah for her ID. Janiah tells her that it was actually stolen, so unfortunately she doesn't have it. The teller tells her that she cannot cash her check without seeing her ID. They get into a little back and forth because apparently Janiah was able to do this before, but she can't do it now. And I guess she gets tired of it, and so she actually slams the gun on the desk, and she tells her that she needs to cash her check. The teller then sets off a silent alarm, and Nicole, the manager who was sitting in her office, she receives the message on her computer, and then she also receives a call from the police. And the officer that's on the line sounds a lot like the guy that actually hit Janiah's car a little bit earlier, and he's just reaching out trying to figure out what's going on. And he does ask her, you know, do you know this person's name? Nicole is struggling to try to remember her name. She kind of says something that sounds a little similar, and the officer is able to say her first and last name. Nicole's like, well, how do you know that information? He doesn't answer, but at this time, Nicole does notice that there's something flashing in her bag, in Janiah's bag, and she assumes that it may be a bomb. It is at this time that we are introduced to Detective Raymond, played by Teyana Taylor, and Detective Grimes at the crime scene. While they are reviewing the camera footage, Detective Raymond realizes that Janiah may have been the victim in the situation. Detective Grimes, he actually thinks otherwise. Detective Raymond and Detective Grimes go to the apartment complex to try to get more information about Janiah. They end up meeting with the landlord, who tells them that she evicted her earlier that day. Detective Grimes asks the landlord if they can search the apartment. The landlord tells them that they can if they pay the first and last month's rent. Detective Raymond is starting to get annoyed. It's like, you know what, don't worry about it, not even worth it. The landlord does get an attitude and get upset, but they're not really concerned about it, and they walk away. And it's at this point that Detective Raymond tells Detective Grimes that this actually brings back a lot of memories. She doesn't get to get into, you know, a lot of detail because they get an alert that there is something going on at the bank. Back at the banks, the tellers are actually working together to try to empty out the registers as quick as possible to try to get the money to Janiah. But she keeps telling them that I do not want to have all of this money. I just simply want to cash my check, which is only $521. It's at this point that the police arrive at the bank, and we see that the cop who hit her car is actually there. Back in the bank, one of the men inside tries to tackle Janiah, but the gun actually goes off, and then he and the guard, they run out of the building. And it's at this time that Janiah notices that there's a TV in the bank, and that the news station, they're talking about what's going on inside of the bank, but they're also talking about what happened at the grocery store and the fact that they think that she killed her boss. The police are able to patch into the bank's phone system, and Detective Raymond attempts to get through to her. Janiah tells her that the guy who ran out because the gun went off, that he actually ran up on her, and that the gun went off simply because he ran up on her. She wasn't the aggressor in that situation. He was the aggressor in that situation. And then also she just pretty much says that she's just there to try to cash her check. And then, unfortunately, she becomes very hysterical, and then she hangs up. Nicole, the manager, approaches her and gives her the $521 and tells her that she is willing to lie and tell them that this was, you know, just a big misunderstanding. She looks at the TV, and she notices that the cop that hit her car is actually out there. And it's at this point that she realizes that there's no way that she can walk out there because she feels like that police officer is going to shoot and kill her based off of what he said a little bit earlier. She tells them that they need to close the blinds, and it's at this point that one of the tellers grabs their phone and they start recording everything. One of the men there gets upset, starts talking about how he is a vet and he doesn't appreciate all this. And he basically says that me and my wife were getting ready to leave, and they actually just walk out. And everybody is surprised that they were able to just walk out. But it's at this point that Janiah, she gets upset, she gets irritated, and she's like, you know what? You need to lock the doors. And then she ends up picking up the bag and placing it on the counter. And the bag is lighting up, and everybody thinks it's a bomb. She ends up just grabbing the object and turning the lights off. And then after that, we found out that the police, they were able to gain access to the security cameras. The police talk about the possibility of the FBI getting involved, which upsets Detective Raymond because she knows that if the FBI gets involved, they will try to kill her. Detective Raymond decides to call again, and Janiah tells her that the officer out there was the one who hit her car, and that the other officer was present, and that she was the one who had the car towed. She also reveals that the officer that hit her car threatened to kill her, and she goes on to explain that the only reason why the guy at the grocery store knew her name was because of her name tag. She did not know that guy. They were not working together. They were not in cahoots. It was a situation where he saw her name tag and said her name. She also reveals to them that her daughter fell in a tub and that Child Protective Services took her away from her. Detective Raymond tells her about her childhood and that her mom actually got evicted as well. And so she knows what she's going through. And she also tells her that she's trying to figure out a plan for her to try to get her out of there safely. Janiah tells her that she is not leaving until that officer is off of the premises. But of course, at this time, Detective Raymond, Detective Grimes, all of the police officers, they do not know who this person is. But it's at this point that Detective Raymond puts it in her mind that she's going to figure out who this person is. Janiah disconnects the phone and she looks up, she actually looks around and she sees, of course, that there are a lot of cameras there. And so she asks Nicole to take her to the back so they can disconnect the cameras. The camera flashes outside and we see that the FBI has actually arrived, and they actually come into the police bus and tell them that they are taking over. Detective Raymond knows that she has to hurry up and find out who this officer is before the FBI decides that they want to take action and storm the building. In the bank, Janiah begins telling them about her daughter's struggles and eventually asks Nicole if she'll be willing to take care of her daughter if she was to get locked up. Nicole, she's afraid, she's scared, so of course she said yes. And it's at this point that one of the people inside reveals that she is diabetic and that she is not feeling well. Janiah tells her that she can leave, and at this point Nicole actually walks her out. And Detective Raymond is at the door and she tries to grab Nicole, but Nicole's like, I'm not leaving, I can't leave her. She tries to pull her out again, but she's just like, no, I can't. And the reason for this is because Nicole already knows if Janiah's in there by herself, they're going to storm in and they might shoot her. And if she walks out, they're definitely going to do something to her. And so she's like, I cannot leave her. And the FBI agent actually sees that the detective allowed her to go back in, so he's upset, he is pissed. Inside of the bank, the phone rings and Janiah answers thinking that it's Detective Raymond, but it's actually the FBI agent. He tells her that he is taking over and that she needs to come out and surrender. She demands to speak to Detective Raymond, but he is not having it. He's like, you do not have the ability to negotiate at this point. She tells him that she is not going anywhere until that officer is gone. She hands the phone over to Nicole, and then she notices that the book bag is lighting up again. So she grabs the book bag and she reaches for the object, and this is when everybody starts to panic. Everybody's scared because remember, everybody thinks that this is a bomb. So it's like, oh my God, don't do it. And so she takes the object out, she turns the lights off, and she tells everyone that this is just her daughter's science fair project. And everybody's like, wait, it's not a bomb. And she's like, of course it's not a bomb. This is just something that my daughter made. And then it's at this point that she realizes that the police officers believe that she has a bomb. And so at this point, she recognizes that this situation has escalated further than she thought, and now she's really concerned. It's at this point that one of the tellers say that they need to use the bathroom, and she's like, go ahead, go to the bathroom. And when the teller goes to the bathroom, she actually goes to the window, and she writes on the window, bomb is not real, and she also lets them know that she has one gun. And it just so happens that the FBI agents, they're walking around that area, and they see the writing on the window, and so they know that the bomb is not real. Janiah thinks that they should tell them that, she doesn't have a bomb, but the manager, Nicole, tells her that that may not be a good idea because, the only reason why they haven't stormed into the bank yet is because they think that there's a bomb. If they reveal that, there isn't a bomb in the building, then they will probably just come in and she may get hurt. But of course, we know that the teller went into the bathroom, wrote on the window, and said that the bomb is not real. So unfortunately, that doesn't help, and unfortunately, that means that the FBI knows that the bomb is not real. So there really isn't much to really stop them from storming in now. Nicole tells her that the best thing that she can do at this point is pretty much just to walk out with her hands up, and she needs to leave the bag inside so that way they know that she does not have the bomb with her. She tells her that she is willing to do that under one circumstance, and of course, that is if that officer is gone, because she honestly believes that he may try to shoot and kill her. Back outside, Detective Grimes brings the officer who gave Janiah a ticket over to Detective Raymond, and the lady tells her that she was the one who gave her the ticket, and she was the one who got her car towed because she had an expired license and expired registration. And it's at this point that she admits that Officer Oliver was the one who threatened her, and she tells her that she cannot confirm if he actually hit the car because she wasn't there, but she can confirm that he was the one who threatened her. And this sets Detective Raymond off, and she actually ends up walking around looking for him. She finds him and she punches him in the face in front of everybody. And of course, everyone is just like, what's going on? What's happening? And then this is when she reveals that he was the one who hit her car and that he was the one who threatened her. And she essentially says that he is the person that is responsible for everything happening. And so they end up removing him from the premises. Detective Raymond, Detective Grimes, and Chief Wilson, they go into the police bus and they tell the FBI agent that they found out who the officer was and that he has been removed from the premises, but the FBI agent doesn't care. And they also notice that the phone is ringing, but the FBI agent is refusing to answer. And so Detective Raymond actually picks up the phone and she starts talking to Janiah. And she tells her that they found out who the officer was and they were able to get him off the premises. Janiah says that she wants proof, and she says that she wants her to text it to her. In which the detective says that they can't do that because her phone is off. And so she says, well, you're the police, you have the FBI with you, just tell them to turn my phone back on and send it to me. And Detective Raymond says, you know what, she will do her best to get that done, and she will make sure that she gets the picture over to her, and also that she will be there to guide her out of the building to make sure that she gets out safe. After this conversation, the FBI agent tells his people to turn the lights off and prepare to go in. Detective Raymond tries to reason with him, but he is not having it, and they prepare to go in as far as like just, we're done talking, we're done having a conversation. They plan to just go inside the building and take her down. And so Detective Raymond decides to march forward, and she actually walks in front of the building to prevent them from going inside and also, of course, from them shooting. And she actually knocks on the door. And Nicole, she goes outside, she answers the door, and she lets them know that unfortunately she will not be able to text her the picture, but she can show her a picture on her phone. And so Nicole grabs the phone and she brings it to Janiah. Janiah looks at it and she's able to verify that that is the officer. And so then she says, you know what, everybody can leave, everybody can go. And so everyone starts walking out, but Nicole decides to stay. And of course, the tellers are like, what are you doing? Why are you staying behind? But she's like, you know what? I can't leave her. I need to stay. Just go on. I'll be fine. And of course, you know that she's doing this because she knows if she walks out there on her own, she probably won't make it. And so then Janiah asks her if, she will come visit her while she's in jail, as far as Nicole. And she says, of course, she will come see her. And also she will bring her daughter. Next thing you know, we see a scene that kind of flashes really quick, and the FBI agents say, go ahead and do it. And when they flash back, we see that her phone is ringing, Janiah's phone is ringing, and it's her mom. And so she picks up the phone and she starts to just start blabbering. So she starts, trying to explain everything as far as what's going on. And this is the part that I was like, wow, okay. I did not see this coming. And so this is the part where her mom says, Janiah, your daughter died last night. And so it turns out that her daughter Aria actually passed away the previous night from a seizure. In the scene that we saw, earlier in the movie at the beginning where she was holding her daughter at the hospital, that actually happened in real life. And so her daughter actually passed away. And so we end up flashing back to a couple of scenes and we see that she was actually hallucinating a little bit. And so when she was in the bed and we saw that her daughter was with her at the beginning, her daughter actually wasn't in the bed with her. As far as being in the tub, her daughter wasn't in the tub. When she was walking down the steps to walk to her car and she saw the homeless man, her daughter wasn't with her. And then also when she went to the school and she was waving at her daughter, like, have a good day at school. And remember I was telling you all that the lady was looking at her like she was crazy, like what's going on? The reason why she was looking at her like that is because her daughter wasn't with her. So it just looked like she was waving at some random people. It's almost as if she just kind of drove up, got out the car, started waving at some random kids, and got back in the car. And so that's why she looked at her as if she was crazy. We also find out that the call that she received when she was at work, it wasn't actually the school. It was actually from a bill collector, but she told her manager that it was actually the school. And she actually ended up rushing to the school, like, hey, what's going on? I'm here, I got your call. And they're just like, we didn't call you. Like, nobody called you, nobody reached out to you. They had no idea what's going on. And so then she disconnects the line and she reveals to Nicole that her daughter passed away. And Nicole tells her that she already knew. They had already mentioned it to her earlier. Next thing you know, officers storm into the bank, and I'm talking about through the main doors and through the ceilings, and then they shoot and kill Janiah. Or at least that's what we think, because then the scene flashes back, and we see that Janiah and Nicole, they're still talking, they're having a conversation, and Nicole basically says, you know what, this is it, it's just time to end it, let's just go out. And she decides to walk with her head in hand, and she says, you know what, in this moment, what I need you to do is just put your other hand up, put it in the air, say, no, you're not a threat, and let's just walk out together so we can avoid, any type of situation as far as them trying to shoot you. And so they do walk out, and then Detective Raymond is out there waiting for her. And it's just like, come on, just come to me, come to me. And so she ends up going to Detective Raymond. Detective Raymond puts the cuffs on her and puts her in the back of the vehicle. And she's driven off, and that is where the movie ends. And I must say that was actually a really good movie. I was really impressed. When I saw the trailer for this movie, I was like, I thought it was like kind of like John Q. So I was just like, okay, this is probably just a ripoff. But I must say this movie, it was really good. The acting was really good. The cinematography was really good. The storyline was really good. I felt like this movie was really well paced. So shout out to Tyler Perry. This was really a good movie. I will probably watch it again. But that is everything that I have. I really appreciate everybody watching this video. If you could, please like the video, leave a comment, and also subscribe to my page. I will really appreciate it. You all have a great rest of your day. Bye.